नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यस्य कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे राम हरे 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 कृष्णा. So welcome back to the Nectar of Instructions Bhakti Shastri discussion. Yesterday we began with text 10 of the Upadesh Amrit. Text 10 is a very beautiful verse, again in Sardhul Vikridita meter, and I'll recite it once again and just we'll recap what we discussed yesterday and then continue the discussion. Karmebhyah parito hare priyataya vyaktim yayorgyanina भक्ति परमः प्रेमेकनिष्ठास्ततः तेभ्यस्तः पशुपालपङ्कजदृशा ताभ्योऽपि साराधिका प्रेष्टा तद्वद् इयं तदीयसरसी तां नाश्रेत् कः कृति. कर्मिभ्य परितो हरि. Of all types of fruitive vectors, he who is advanced in knowledge, Vayur Jnaninas Vyaktim, is favored by the Lord, Priyataya. And many who are advanced in knowledge, Gyanis, who is practically liberated by Gyan, Tebhyab Gyan Vimukta, may take up to devotional service, Bhakti Parama. And one who has taken to Bhakti and attained Prema Bhakti, the Lord is, he's still superior to others. And among the Prema Bhaktas are the gopis. Tebhyasta Pashupala Pankaja Drisha. I mentioned the deeper meaning of Pankaja Drisha. Pashupala means protector of the animals, who is Gopal. Pankajadrasha means the lotus-eyed ladies. The gopis are lotus of the cowherd boy, Krishna. They are totally dependent on Krishna, just like a creeper cannot stand at all without the tree. Complete surrender. So that's why Krishna's eyes are always fixed on the gopis. Pashupala Pankajadrisha. And among the gopis, it is Srimati Radhika. Tadvad ayam tadaya sarasi. So similarly, Radha Kund is also equally dear to Krishna as much as Srimati Radharani, who will not reside in Radha Kund in a spiritual body surcharged with ecstatic devotional feelings, a prakrita bhava, not material emotions, spiritual emotions. That is bhava bhakti or prema bhakti, you can say. Render divine service to the divine couple Sri Radha Kunda, who perform their Ashtakalya Leela, their eternal eightfold pastimes. Indeed, those who execute devotional service on the banks of Radha Kund are the most fortunate people in the universe. Tam Nashred Kaha Kriti. And this is the most misused verse. People think that, I can go and perform my bhajan in Radha Kund, but you have to be qualified. First, you have to, practice 1 to 7 verses. And first of all, you have to, become a Goswami. That first verse itself is a very, very high, qualification which is being demanded. Then what to speak of Raganuga Sadhana, which is text 8. And I mentioned the highest form of residing in Radha Kund is preaching the glories of Bhakti all over the world. And that's what Prabhupada uh, showed by his own example. So yesterday we discussed quite in detail how verses 1 to 3 discuss the process of controlling the senses. There is Vegas and conditional, constitutional faults and constitutional good qualities which one should cultivate to destroy the constitutional faults. So these we saw in text 1, 2, 3. And in text 4, 5, 6 talk about association, the six loving exchanges which we should do in the association of devotees. And then there is how a Madhyamadikari should respect the Kanishta and the Uttama, and how one a Madhyamadikari should not commit offense while associating with the Uttamadikari. And text 8, 7 came back to Sambandh, that we have to become detached from this world and become attached to Krishna by chanting Krishna's holy name, Kintu Adarat Anudanam. And the Abhideya process is also given in 7, but it is more emphatic in practice of Raganuga sadhana given in 8. And Tishtan Vraja was mentioned. So now Vraja is described in verse 9. And in Vraja, how can we obtain Vraja in Vraja, that Radha Kund? Text 10 is speaking about it, how we can obtain by discussing the topics of Radha and Krishna and the gopis who perform their pastimes there. So you have to associate with them. You associate with karmis, you'll become a karmi. You associate with gyanis, you'll become a gyani. You associate with sadhakas, you'll remain in the sadhaka platform. You associate with premi bhaktas, you'll also attain prema. And then in a spiritual body, Sarshaj, one should serve the eternal divine couple, Radha and Krishna, and seek their association at the bank of Radha Kund. So you associate with Vikarmis, you will go to hell, and you associate with the gopis, you will go to Radha Kund, the highest destination. So that's how we saw the best devotee is Srimati Radharani. That's how we discussed yesterday. And we saw the gradations of the different levels of consciousness from Vikarmi to Karmi to Jnani. And there is a Jnana Mukta also here in one sense. Then there is a Bhakta, there is a Premi Bhakta, there is a Gopi, and the gopis. Why not only just gopis, but it can be the gopis. And then among the topmost gopis is Srimati Radharani. So yesterday we discussed quite in detail about Sakama Karmis, the Sukarmis, the Vikarmis, and we went into a little bit of the concept of Karmis. Prabhupada, when he uses this term, generally in the Vedic parlance, Karmi can refer to one who's following Vedas. But in today's context, karmis means, it can be used for even materialist. So that's why there is the non-religious materialist and the religious materialist. Yesterday we read that how, everyone is engaged in some type of fruitive activity, desiring material profits, because we are all under the Bahiranga Shakti, third class energy, Tritiya Shakti, and they are engaged like hogs and dogs for sense gratification. Yesterday, we saw the concept of sense enjoyment, the conception of sense enjoyment, if you remember. And such karmis, materialist who work piously, in the next life, they might become attracted to performing yagyas. So they become karma kandis in one sense, sukarmis in one sense. So we saw this yesterday. And then Shini Punyamartam Loke Vishanti, even if they go to the highest planets, they come back here. So yesterday we saw this also. And this is the position of all karmis. Anyone who acts piously or impiously. If he acts impiously, he'll go to hell, again come back to earth. If he acts piously, he'll go to heaven, come back to earth. So that's why this earth is Martya Loka. Although Vikarmis is not being discussed in Rupa Goswami's verse, but Prabhupada gives because it is most relevant for us. Because everyone in this material world today, is in one sense a Vikarmi. So that's why Prabhupada speaks about the Vikarmis. And we discussed this also, how Krishna reciprocates ye tamam prapadante. He reciprocates with the Gyanis, Karmis, and what to speak about the Bhaktas. And the Karmis, because they are having this tendency to enjoy, the fruits, although they're performing yag for Vishnu, still they have to accept material bodies. And we discussed yesterday how our devotional service can be on this platform. You know, we might, come to the temple, follow the regular principles because we don't want to go to hell, or we like to live in the ISKCON because ISKCON is food is very good. There is nice, people there to associate. There is nice culture. There is satisfying philosophy. And then, you know, just like Diti and Aditi sons were competing for the heavenly post. So we also want, some post in the management. We like to associate with the spiritual master. We like to look at the deities. We like the philosophy. We like. That means basically we are enjoying devotional service. So this is a subtle contamination that can make us actually karmis, engaged, although in the sacrifice of Vishnu. Although there is bhakti, and this I compare to the namaba stage. If you're on the namaba stage, you're on, it's that's how you have to see. So this is what up till where we had discussed yesterday. If they act piously, he can get a new body among the demigods in the higher planetary systems, and he may attain some other position in which he can enjoy the highest standard of material happiness. On the other hand, those who are engaged in impious activities are degraded and take birth as animals, trees, and plants. Thus, those fruitive actors who do not care for the Vedic directions, we karmis, are not appreciated by the learned, saintly persons. So, those who don't act according to Vedic injunctions are not at all appreciated by the saintly persons. And Prabhupada gives a proof from here. 554. Nunam pramatha कुरुते विकर्मः यद इन्द्रियप्रीतय आपृणोति न साधु मन्ये यतः आत्मनोऽयम् असन्नपि क्लेशद आस देह. Materialists work hard like dogs and hogs simply for sense gratification are actually mad. Nunam pramatta kurute vikarma. They simply perform all kinds of abominable activities simply for sense gratification. Actually, this all entire thing is a worse translation itself. Material activities are not at all worthy for an intelligent man. Na sadhu manne. For as the results of such activities, one gets a material body which is full of misery. Asannapi kleshada asa deha. So that's what Rishabdev is teaching to his sons. So this comes up, you know, Prabhupada quotes this Rishabdev's teaching. Okay, further. The purpose of human life is to get out of the threefold miserable conditions which are concomitant with material existence. Material existence means threefold miseries. Now, where did, again in the Upadeshamrit, Rupa Goswami speak about the threefold miseries? Anyone remembers? Raise your hands. Where did he speak of the threefold miseries? In which text, context? In which text and context did Prabhupada speak in his purport about threefold miseries? Anyone remembers? Raise your hands. No. Anyone? No. Shubha Ikshana Krishna Prabhuji.
No, Prabhu, sorry, I cannot make out.
Oh, why is the audio so low? Prabhupada spoke about this in Atyahara Prayasasya, the Trivid Klesha. One who's in, he spoke there, that there are threefold miseries and there is birth, death, old age, and disease. And that's why from the Bhairanga Shakti to the, please don't type Please don't type unnecessarily on the chat box. I have told many times, I have told. Please don't type unnecessarily. Pay attention to hearing. Otherwise, if you're typing, you cannot hear. So only use the chat box if the audio from my side is not working. So the purpose of the human life is to get out of threefold miserable conditions which are concomitant with material existence. Prabhupada speaks about this. Let's, rebrush our memory. Go to Nectar of Instruction, text 2. Atyahara prayasasya prajalpo niyamagra. Prabhupada speaks about, Bahiranga Shakti and the Antaranga Shakti and the Tatastha Shakti. And there is one who is in Mahamaya. He is having these threefold miseries: Adhyatvika, Adidevika, Daiva Bhutatma Hetava. The conditions are subjected to this, suffer various difficulties. And then there is birth, death, old age, disease. Yes. So again, Prabhupada is coming back to the same thing here, but now a deeper, deeper understanding and a deeper, deeper perspective. I told yesterday, our Vedic education is spiral. We come back to the same thing, but with a deeper insight, a deeper penetration, a deeper perspective. So it's the same thing, but we have to realize it. Unfortunately, fruity workers are mad to earn money and to acquire temporary material content by all means. Therefore, they risk being degraded to lower species of life. Again, Prabhupada is speaking of Atyahar and Lobh here. Materialists foolishly make plans to become happy in this material world. They do not stop to consider that they will live only for a certain number of years, out of which they must spend the major portion acquiring money for sense gratification. Ultimately, such activities end in death. The conditioned soul has such potency that in one lifetime of 70 or 80 years, it's not 100 now. Rarely anyone here stays in this material world quantities. He will commit so many sinful activities, or he'll generate so much karma that he will be obliged to take millions of births in this material world. That one lifetime of karma, to exhaust that karma, he'll have to take n number of species in different bodies and different species. That is the potency of the jiva. you know and if that same potency is utilized in devotional service, what to speak of this life karma, the millions and millions of lives of karma what we have accumulated in since time immemorial, anadi. That is why it's called as anadi. It's all completely destroyed. That is the potency of bhakti. Materialists do not consider that after giving up the body they may become embodied as lower species, plants or trees. They do not consider this. Thus all their activities simply defeat the purpose of life. Not only they are born ignorant, but they act on the platform of ignorance, thinking that they are getting material benefits in the shape of skyscraper buildings, big cars, honorable positions, and so on. The materialists do not know that in the next life they will be degraded and that all their activities simply serve as prabhava, their defeat. This is the verdict of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Prabhavas tavad abodha jata. Again, they have to take birth. Again, this is from Rishabdev's teachings only. One should therefore be eager to understand the science of Tol, Atma Tattva. So, like that, many lifetimes a karmi keeps on performing, you know, these activities naturally because he's following the Vedas, he's doing the Vedic sacrifices, he will start developing wisdom, knowledge. He will start to realize, that punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam. I'm in the Ferris wheel going up, down, how I should get out. Then, he realizes that, I don't belong to this world. I am eternal, Sat. So he starts aspiring for Atma Gyan, you know. So he turns into a Gyani. So now from paragraph 3 onwards, Gyani is being spoken. Unless one comes to the platform of Atma Tattva, by which one understands that the soul and not the body is oneself, one remains on the platform of ignorance. Out of thousands and even millions of ignorant people who are wasting their life simply gratifying the senses, one may come to the platform of knowledge and understand the higher values of life. So, कोटि ज्ञानी कोटि कर्मनिष्ठ मध्ये एक ज्ञानी. Even Rup Shiksha says that out of millions of karmis, you'll find very rare one jnani who understands the value of life, who wants to realize the self. Such a person is called a jnani. The jnani knows. Now, what is the knowledge of the jnani? Here, Prabhupada is bringing out. What is the knowledge of a jnani? The Jnani knows that fruitive activities will bind him to material existence and cause him to transmigrate from one body to another. So if I do any action in this world, that action will have a reaction. It will bind me in karma bandhan. So that's why he doesn't want to do any activities. He wants to realize the self and be situated in the self. As indicated in Srimad Bhagavatam, the term Sharira Bandha, bond by to material existence. As long as one maintains any conception of sense enjoyment, his mind will be absorbed in karma, fruitive activity, and this will oblige him to transmigrate from one body to another. So Prabhupada has used this Sharir Bandha, and he's obliged to transmigrate from one body to another, one body to another. So please mark these statements of Prabhupada from in your book. You should very carefully deliberate what Prabhupada is saying. So this is the knowledge of the Jnani. The Jnani understands that if I do any actions, it will bind me in material existence. So that's why he doesn't want to do actions. He wants to be situated in the self. He wants to situate himself in the self. So even in our devotional life, in bhakti, we can come to the Gyan platform when especially we start deliberating that we develop wisdom, we realize that the spiritual master should be satisfied, not that I should be satisfied in his association. And the deity should see us, not that I like to see the deity. And we should honor Prasad to get strength to serve Krishna, not for the pleasure of the tongue. In this way, we should become wise persons in devotional service. So this is a Jnani Bhakta, you can say. Jnani Bhakta. So there is a subtle change in the consciousness you can see. I hope you are able to understand the point which I'm trying to convey. All right. Okay. Let me also make this dark, otherwise, it becomes a little difficult for devotees to. Somehow it was not done. So, up till now, any questions you have? You can raise your hands. Any questions, any clarifications? Okay. So, this is Jnani's knowledge you're seeing. And from the bhakti perspective, we saw when we develop wisdom, we don't enjoy prasadam, but we honor prasadam so that we keep our spirit to serve Krishna and not for our pleasure of the tongue. We go to see the deity so that the deities can see us, not that I will see the deity. There's a lot of difference in this. And we go to see the spiritual master, not so that I am satisfied to be with the spiritual master, but I want to satisfy my spiritual master by following his instructions. So deeper we should go in this. Thus, the Jnani is considered superior to Karmi because at least he refrains from the blind activities of sense enjoyment. We also saw the conception of, if you remember, uh, you know, any conceptions of sense enjoyment. I mentioned yesterday about the term conception. Our conceptions are there in our intelligence, buddhi, and they can be conveyed. They might pass on to the mind, but actually the conceptions lies in the intelligence. So what is this conception of sense enjoyment? Yesterday I was mentioning it is like trying to light a matchstick. You know, how much it will illuminate and how long. It's very flickering. But the purpose of the matchstick is to light a candle. It's to light a candle. So the matchstick is an instrument that should be used to light a candle. Similarly, the senses are compared to matchstick, and they should be used in service of Krishna. Then we are illuminated. Jnana deepena basvata, as Krishna says. Whereas when we use the senses in our own enjoyment, it's like lighting a matchstick. It is very, very little happiness, enjoyment. It is flickering. And, there is that famous quotation by Socrates. Socrates says, the Jnani can see that sense enjoyment will bring in the future what? Misery, suffering. Sense enjoyment means suffering. He understands. And that's what Socrates verdict of the personality Godhead. That the Jnani is, you know, more dear to the Lord than the Karmi. Or, however, although the Jnani may be liberated from the ignorance of the Karmis, unless he comes to the platform of devotional service, he is still considered to be in ignorance, avidya. So just see that if he, just, and realizes that, karma will bind me and is situated in that knowledge, neti, 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 aham brahmasmi, but still from the avidya, he comes to vidya, this gyan knowledge, but from the bhakti perspective, you know, it is still avidya because the jiva swarup is what? Jivara swarup Krishnara Nityadas. So if he doesn't realize that, still he is in ignorance. Although one may be accepted as a jnani or one advanced in knowledge, his knowledge is considered impure because he has no information of devotional service and thus neglects the direct worship of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So if he neglects, then what? Vimuktamaninas, Avishuddha Buddhaye, Anadrita Yushmadangre, Aruru Kruchena Parampadam, Patanti, which is a famous verse in Bhagavatam 10 to 32, I think. When a Jnani takes to devotional service, he rapidly becomes superior to an ordinary Jnani. Bahunam Janmanamante, Jnanavan Mam Prapadyante, Vasudeva Sarvamiti Sahamatma Sudurlabha. Such an advanced person is described as Jnana Vimukta Bhakti Parama. Although this Jnani is liberated by the Jnana process, when he takes up to Bhakti, then he is considered very dear to the Lord. So now he has taken up to Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti. Please remember this Jnani has become qualified to practice Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti. And is considered now superior to the, this Jnani will become a Bhakti superior to the Jnani. So the Vaidhi Sadhakas are more dear to the Lord compared to the Jnanis. I hope you are understanding this point. The Vaidhi Sadhakas are more dear to the Lord compared to the Jnanis. So the Vaidhi Sadhakas are superior to Jnanis. So please remember, all of you, how a Jnani takes to devotional service is mentioned in Bhagavad Gita 7:19, wherein Krishna says, Bahunam Janma Namante, Jnanavan Mam Prapadyante, Vasudeva Sarvamiti Sahamatma Sudurlabha. After many, many births, he who is actually in knowledge surrenders unto me, knowing me to the cause of all causes, and all that is. Such a soul is very rare. Sahamatma Sudurlabha. Okay. Now about the Jnani we saw. Actually, a person is wise when he surrenders unto the lotus feet of Krishna, but such a Mahatma, great soul, is very rare. After taking to devotional service under the regulative principles, now this is Vaidhi Sadhaka. A person may come to the platform of spontaneous love of Godhead, Raganuga, or Bhava Bhakti, following in the footsteps of great devotees like Narad, Sanak, and Sanatan. So, Jnani, Vimukta, Bhakta, Parama, superior to them are the Premi Bhaktas. And all the devotees mentioned by Prabhupada are all in Shant or Dasiras. Sanak and Sanatan are in Shantaras. Narad Muni is in Dasiras. The Supreme Personality Godhead then recognized them to be superior. So these who are attained prema for the Lord are superior, but they are in Shant and Dasiras, please remember. The devotees who have developed love of Godhead are certainly in an exalted position. Now, in this paragraph, Prabhupada speaks about, among the Premi Bhaktas, the gopis. Of all these devotees who have developed prema, there are Shant Premi Bhaktas, there are Das Premi Bhaktas, there are Vatsalya Premi Bhaktas, there are Sakya Premi Bhaktas, and there are Madhuri Premi Bhaktas. Among all these Premi Bhaktas, the gopis, among all these devotees, the gopis are recognized as superior because they do not know anything other than satisfying Krishna. They don't know anything other than satisfying Krishna. Nor do the gopis expect any return from Krishna. Indeed, sometimes Krishna puts them in extreme suffering by separating himself from them. Nonetheless, they cannot forget Krishna. When Krishna left Vrindavan for Mathura, the gopis became most dejected and spent the rest of their lives simply crying in separation from Krishna. Of course, Krishna, there are many books uh, of meeting of Krishna after Krishna left. Krishna came back to Vrindavan to be with the gopis. There are many, many episodes given in the various acharyas' work. But in general, Prabhupada is mentioning this statement. This means that in one sense, they were never actually separated from Krishna because they were feeling, you know, deep, remembrance in separation, and that is non-different from being with Krishna. So this is called as Vipralamba Bhava, and this is what Mahaprabhu has come to give. There's no difference between thinking of Krishna and associating with Krishna. Okay, somehow that has got cut, I think, here. Yeah, with him. It has got cut. So let us take him inside. Oh, if you put it here, then it goes or so. We'll reduce the font. Yeah. Okay. Now, further. Rather, Vipralamba Seva, thinking of Krishna in separation as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did, is far better than serving Krishna directly. So this is what now Prabhupada is coming to directly what Mahaprabhu has come to give, this Vipralamba Seva. Mahaprabhu, last 18 years of his life, he simply cried in separation from Krishna as Srimati Radharani was deep in lamentation, crying for Krishna when Krishna left to Mathura. So those same feelings of separation Mahaprabhu exhibited in Jagannath Puri. And this is the highest pinnacle of devotion. Thus, all the devotees who have developed unalloyed devotional love for Krishna, thus of all the devotees, the gopis are the most exalted, and out of all these exalted gopis, Srimati Radharani is the highest. She is the highest. No one can excel the devotional service of Srimati Radharani. Indeed, even Krishna cannot understand the attitude of Srimati Radharani. Therefore, he took her position and appeared as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu just to understand her transcendental feelings. So, this is the inner reason why Mahaprabhu appeared. He just could not understand what, you know, attraction I have that Srimati Radharani is so much attracted to me. What is the beauty she relishes in me? And what is the taste of devotional service she relishes in me. So to understand that, Mahaprabhu came in the bhava and the kanti of Srimati Radharani as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Next paragraph. In this way, Srila Rupa Goswami gradually concludes that Srimati Radharani is the most exalted devotee to Krishna and that her Kunda lake, Sri Radha Kund, is the most exalted place in this universe. The most exalted place in this universe is Radha Kund. This is verified by the verse from the Padmoran as quoted in Lagu Bhagavatamrit, Uttarakanda 45 and Chaitanya Charitamrit. Yata Radha Priya Vishnu Tasya Kundam Priyam Tata Sarvagopishu Sevika Vishnu Ratyanta Vallabha. Just as Srimati Radharani is dear to the Supreme Lord Vishnu, so her bathing plus Radha Kund is equally dear to Krishna. Among all the gopis, Sarva Gopishu Sevika, she alone stands supreme as the Lord's most beloved. Vishnu Atyanta Vallabha. Now, Prabhupada and Rupa Goswami are taking us to the Prayojan, that is Radha Kund. If you want to serve Krishna in the mood of Madhurya Ras, following the gopis, and especially the Manjari mood, you know, and then follow Krishna, Radha and Krishna, who perform their eternal pastimes in Radha Kund with their maid servants, the gopis and the Manjaris. Follow in their footsteps there. Therefore, everyone interested in Krishna consciousness ultimately takes shelter of Radhakund and execute devotional service there throughout one's life. Now, what this means also, I mentioned that preaching the message of bhakti is directly serving Srimati Radharani and it is non different from Radhakund. This is the conclusion of Sri Goswami in the 10th verse of Sri Updesh Amrit. And if you remember when we discussed about in the text 9 or 9 about Radha Kund, we mentioned that what we see Radha Kund is just, you know, uh, external for us now. It's just a signboard, like something indicating that there is actual Radha Kund there. But Radha Kund is not, actually perceivable with material eyes. Mahaprabhu was able to see it, and that's why he could, in that two small ponds, take bath. And now it is excavated as Radhakund and Shamkund by Raghunath Das Goswami. But actual Radhakund is where there is crystal clear water. There are banks that are made of diamonds and other jewels. And, there are these Ashtasaki Kunds. There is the divine, Jhulan there where Radha and Krishna perform their pastimes. So it's not visible to our material vision. So it requires prema vision. So ultimately, we have to come to the Raganuga level of practice of sadhana internally. And externally, we might be anywhere in this world and we might be preaching devotional service, but we can be always be situated on the bank of Radhakund. And this is what Prabhupada recommends as very, very safe. Not to go on the bank of Radhakund and stay and try to execute your devotional service. For sure, mark my words, not my words, these are the Acharya words. For sure, you're going to be doomed. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says, those who stay on the bank of Radhakund, they are not staying on the bank of Radhakund, says they are staying on the bank of Narakiya Kund, he said. And once Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, I remember it's a published article where he gave a lecture on the bank of Radhakund when he first time visited Vrindavan in 1931 or 30. I don't remember the year. I have the article. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, you know, there everyone knew Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, all these so-called Goswamis, Babaji staying there. They all came to hear him. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was giving lectures on Ish Upanishads. They were very upset. They thought, he'll speak very intimate pastimes of Radha and Krishna. But Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was speaking about Ish Upanishads there. And one of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's disciple mentioned to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Guru Maharaj, I am seeing all these Babajis, they are so exalted, they are virakta, and they are executing their bhajan. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur started laughing, he just gave a huge laugh. Oh, all are Kanishta Adhikaris, he said. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur could see the reality. So we are not even qualified to practice Shuddha Bhakti. We have to remember that. We can become qualified to practice Shuddha Bhakti only when we are able to master the senses. That means we are able to control the six urges. So we have to strive for that first. So this is very, very exalted. Just imagine in 7, 8, in 10, 11 verses, Rupa Goswami has given us the highest goal of life. Okay, so that ends the discussion on text 10. Tomorrow we will finish text 11, which is just 2 paragraphs, but it is very important. So, any questions, any clarifications you have? Any questions which we need to take up? No? Okay. So then we will stop here. Shri Updesha Amrit ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Rupa Goswami Pad ki jai. So tomorrow is the last class, which will be text 11. Hare Krishna.